Randy Meisner, whose vocal range helped catapult the Eagles to fame, has died. The soft-spoken bassist added high harmonies to classics like Take It Easy and...
Randy Meisner, a singer whose range helped the Eagles become famous, has died. The soft-spoken bassist added high harmonies to classics like Take It Easy. When Randy Meisner died, the rock world was in shock. Fans remembered him as a unique voice who was instrumental in the band's success, but who was left in silence at the end of the wave of grief. He finally spoke up, but what he said was much more than as a respect to his old bandmate Meisner. Henley said things about him that he had never talked about before. There were problems in the band, moments behind the glam, and the untold struggles that had never been publicized. His words shocked fans. Was their relationship more complicated than we thought? The truth about those years was finally coming to light, and it could change how the world sees them. Randy Meisner was born on March 8, 1946, in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. It was a small town surrounded by fields, and farming was the main way of life. There were no big stages or cutting-edge recording studios, just land, wind, and nights so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Hear the bugs buzzing in the moonlight. Meisner's family worked in fruit farming, which required hard work and patience, but he learned these skills at a young age. Randy was interested in something. Besides harvest and crop seasons, music had a mysterious way of getting into his soul through old radios playing Elvis Presley, Little Richard, and the Everly Brothers. He didn't just want to listen to music, he wanted to make it. When he was a teenager, he started playing guitar, but it wasn't until he switched to bass that he really found his rhythm. There's something special about playing bass. Meisner said that when you play an instrument, you're connecting with the music and keeping everything running smoothly. Feeling like it was fate, he left Nebraska to follow what he thought was his true calling. In the 1960s, Los Angeles was a dream for people who wanted to live the rock and roll dream, with packed bars and recording studios where young artists took chances with their music. It was a place where talent could shine, but also where fierce competition could happen quickly. Get rid of those who didn't have persistence. Meisner only had his bass with him when he got to Los Angeles. With a guitar and a strong desire to play music, he joined a few small bands and played a few gigs here and there to make ends meet. It wasn't until he joined the short-lived rock band The Poor that he really started to get noticed. But it was when he was asked to join Poco, one of the first country rock bands formed by Richie Furay and Jim MSA after Buffalo Springfield broke up. Poco wasn't just a band. It was a movement and an experiment that mixed country and rock in a way that had never been done before. Meisner made important contributions to Poco's unique sound with his soaring vocals. His bass playing helped build a strong base for the band's music, and his singing added emotional depth. Know that Meisner left Poco just as their first album was about to come out because of a disagreement within the group. He took his voice with him as he looked for a new home. Not long after leaving Poco, Meisner joined Rick Nelson and the Stone Canyon Band, which was started by rockabilly legend Rick Nelson. This was a very important time in Meisner's career as he not only played music but also learned from one of the biggest stars of that time. Nelson was a perfectionist who, with a humble personality and a strong work ethic, Meisner quickly learned how to work with others, how to build a long-term career as an artist, and most importantly, how to make his voice truly connect with audiences. But no matter how much he learned, Meisner still hadn't found where he truly belonged. Then, in 1971, Linda Ronstadt, one of the biggest female country rock singers at the time, needed a backing band for her tour, and Meisner went along. With Don Henley, Glenn Frey, and Bernie Lean was invited to join. They got along so well that right after the tour, all four decided to start their own band, Eagles. If Poco was an experiment, then Eagles was the final masterpiece. They didn't just mix country and rock, they took it to a whole new level, making it sharper, cleaner, and more refined. Meisner's voice was one of the most recognizable parts of Eagles. Many people don't know that before Henley became the band's lead singer, Meisner had the biggest range. The most moving delivery, but he never wanted to be the center of attention. When Take It to the Limit came out, everyone finally realized that Eagles was more than just Henley and Frey. They also had Meisner, the man with the voice that could make people cry. Randy Meisner never wanted power. He loved music in its purest form, which may be why he couldn't keep his place in an ambitious band like Eagles. From the outside, Eagles seemed to be one of the most popular bands of the 1970s, with timeless hits, best-selling albums, and sold-out tours. But behind the scenes, things were anything but peaceful. despite the smooth melodies they brought to their fans. From the moment he joined the Eagles, Meisner was different from Glenn Frey and Don Henley. Frey was the leader, assertive, and highly ambitious. Henley was smart, willing to take charge to get the best results, and Meisner just wanted to play music, not worry about competition or internal politics. Even though he was a founding member and made a big contribution to the band's success, Meisner never held any positions of power within the group. While recording, Meisner had to agree with Frey and Henley's choices, sometimes against his own will. Meisner wrote or co-wrote a number of songs for Eagles, but he didn't have much say over which songs made it onto the albums or who sang lead on singles. As the band's fame grew, his role became less important. But what really made things unbearable was what happened on the 1977 tour. At this point, Eagles were at the height of their fame, with Hotel California becoming a worldwide hit. The tour went through the US and Europe, but it also caused tensions that had been building for years. One of the best parts of every concert was Meisner singing "Take It to the Limit" in his signature high falsetto. It was one of the band's biggest hits, and people couldn't wait to hear him sing it live. But by that time, he was completely worn out. As the tour went on, he got pneumonia and his voice got hoarse, making it hard to hit the high notes. But the band insisted that he sing "Take It to the Limit" every night because it was an important part of the setlist. Knoxville, Tennessee. Meisner refused to sing the song because he didn't think he was good enough. Glenn Frey, who is known for being cruel, lost his temper right away backstage and started yelling at Fredden for interrupting the show. Frey used harsh language to make things worse, and the argument quickly turned physical. Meisner, who is usually calm and collected, lost control and fought back. No one knows what happened next, but Meisner later said, "It was just too tense at that point. I was being forced to do things I didn't want to do." In 1981, he told the public, "I could have made 3 times as much money if I had stayed, but I was just too tired of touring. It's a crazy life when you live at twice the normal speed. When it came down to sanity or money, I figured I'd rather have my sanity." Not long after the fight with Frey, Meisner quit the Eagles. The public was told that he did so voluntarily to spend time with his family, but many thought he didn't have much of a choice. In reality, Meisner no longer felt like he belonged in the Eagles. He was worn out from touring. Internal tensions, extra pressure, and most of all, the feeling that he wasn't really respected as a band member. Did he really want to leave? That's not clear. Maybe the relationships between the band members wouldn't have been so tense if he had been treated more fairly. Meisner could have stayed with the band longer, but the way things were going, it looked like he was going to have to leave soon. After Meisner left, the Eagles kept hitting new heights, and ironically, they hired Timothy B. Schmidt to replace him. Randy Meisner's years of solitude. When Randy Meisner left the Eagles in 1977, he began a difficult journey that he may not have fully anticipated. Immediately after his departure, Meisner decided to pursue a solo career, and in 1978, he released his self-titled debut album, hoping to make his own way in the music industry. While the album had some hit songs like "Hearts on Fire" and "Batman," it did not have the same level of success as the Eagles' albums, and people still saw Meisner as a member of the band and not as a solo artist. As an independent artist, he put out a few more albums in the 1980s, but the reviews weren't any better. Meisner never seemed to want to get back into the spotlight at all costs. He wasn't the type of artist who was willing to fight the market. He just wanted to make music, and maybe in an industry as cutthroat as this one, people like Meisner were doomed to be left behind. When the Eagles broke up in 1980, each member went their own way. Glenn Frey and Don Henley went on to have very successful single careers. Joe Walsh kept up his status in the rock scene, but Meisner and Drew were working together less and less with a strong team behind them. He slowly became less well-known than his former bandmates. In the 1990s, the Eagles got back together for the Hell Freezes Over tour, but Meisner wasn't there. When asked why, he said he hadn't received an official invitation. In reality, rumors said he turned down the tour because he was worried about his health and mental well-being. Whatever the reason, he was left out of this new chapter in the Eagles story. By the early 2000s, Meisner's health was getting worse. He was struggling with bipolar disorder and heavy drinking. He was no longer on stage, and his life became a series of increasingly lonely days, despite his fame. Meisner found comfort in his marriage to Lana Ray Meisner, whom he married in 1996. For a while, Lana seemed to be the only support in his life, but their relationship wasn't always easy. Friends of Meisner said